Hey, Angel Guided 333. That's a cool name. You guys, I was not going to do a video tonight, but I got to tell you, I just did. Let me just start from the beginning. So I had the best day, right? I've had the best week. I'm starting to think that the next year will be the best of my life. But, I got a call today. I have a meeting next week that honestly is in line with everything I've ever wanted to do in my life. I feel like everything I've worked for in the health and detox realm all comes to this. And I feel like spirit, my ancestors, God, the universe is all supporting my goals. I feel in line with more than one purpose, but at least 3 purposes that were put here in my life that makes so much sense. Like everything that I've went through to this point has brought me to this point to help and teach others. Oh, that's very sweet, Jay. And I got home and I did a Facebook Live on herbs and things like that. And I looked at the aged equipment I shoot on, and I kind of giggled that I've even been able to shoot a single video on it. And I just love what I do. I do. And I want all of you to love what you do too. But I just did a reading. And so this gal is a Southern Belle, and it was the second reading she's gotten with me. I think she got a reading back in November as well. And I got to be honest, and I'll say Stephanie, if you're watching, I know that, I said I was probably going to do a video on this, and for good reason. Dallas or Falcon Crest? Now, any of you who are over the age of 30, you are familiar with the show Dallas and Falcon Crest, okay? So my mom and I, my mom used to pop popcorn, and we would watch Dallas and Falcon Crest. And no matter what was going on, let me put my foot on the floor real quick to get a little more balanced. No matter what was going on in my mom's life, Dallas and Falcon Crest, we would close out a Friday night with Dallas and Falcon Crest. Sometimes it was on Thursday, depending if we were watching the reruns. I know who shot JR. Many of you know who shot JR. Many of you knew who shot JR before JR got shot. Anyway, it's a little secret there. So Dallas and Falcon Crest were 2 TV shows that were on back to back on like a Friday night. And growing up, my mom and I used to watch this together. And the dynamics of the show was this big family dynamic that lived out on a ranch and owned a farm, and they had a shit ton of money. And anyone new who would come into the family would get like the short end of the stick and like would get pushed out, and then like would have to like leave the country, the town of Dallas, because they were like talked about so poorly. I mean, that's what the show was about, right? This reading I just did,
this girl could write a book on what she has gone through. This woman is, she's 41. I'll call her Stephanie. Unbelievable what she went through. And I asked her if I could share it with you just a little bit. And here's why. Many of you, and you guys, this video has absolutely zero to do with me, zero to do with my life. I've never been in a situation like this, but this makes me feel very grateful for my own family. Very grateful that I have a family that has always embraced people I've brought in and who have loved them and been kind to them and non-judgmental, no matter what, no matter what the deal was. But this woman, and she's given me full permission to share with you some of what she went through. I'm actually itching just thinking about it, and I haven't itched in like a year. So she's out of the family now. She actually had to move to a different state. She had to move from North Carolina to like Denver. She's moved back, but she's not with this family anymore. But the family basically is very well known. This woman had a mother-in-law that bought them a house, then bought a piece of property right next door to them and built her own house on it. Yeah. Just so she could like man the fort, so to speak, right? This poor woman, her husband built, he planted bushes because the mom would like look through to like always be like looking at what they were doing and so on and so forth. He plant bushes to grow in between the houses. And the mother-in-law actually poured like poison or something so the bushes wouldn't grow next to the kitchen window so she could look in on them. That's how intense it was for this gal. She since left. Now, she raised kids with this man and everything, but all the wives that, or the wife that he had before, she was told stories about, and she ended up finding that person and taking her to court with them when they separated. Every wife that has ever had to leave this particular family, this is the person I did the call with who has given me permission to share this with you. They have all lost custody of their kids, but this woman's very strong, very headstrong. I felt like I was talking to myself on the phone. It was really, she's a very well-spoken, she's a Southern belle, but she doesn't put up with anything. And listening to this, I was floored and grateful at the same time. And I told her, I said, I got to tell you, Stephanie, I just want to pull more cards. I know this reading is over. Readings are usually an hour. I was like, but this is so intriguing to me that I want to go deeper. I want to find out who this child is from. I want to find out. It was really actually intriguing to me to know that these type of family dynamics where the matriarch of the family has so much pull in a situation and control, I should say. So, we went through the call, and I got to tell you, I didn't tell her, and if she watches this, she'll know. The first time I had a call with her, I actually thought she was a little crazy. I thought there's no way, and this was back in November, that all of this could have gone on. There is absolutely no way. That's what I was thinking the very first time I spoke to her. And now that I've spoken to her again, and we talked for longer than an hour, and I usually don't stay on longer than an hour. I have some clients that I really love that like I'll do like 2-hour calls with them, but my intuition fades after an hour because I just get tired, right? But this particular woman is so in herself and in her element now that she is so poised when she speaks. She's not stressed at all because she's away from this family dynamic that had her literally feel like she was going crazy. I mean, so many different things were going on. Her devices, her phone, things were hacked. I know a lot of you had during retrograde that happens. People want to go back to the past, and so they hack into things, etc. But this woman is so incredibly calm, poised, collective, doesn't overspeak, doesn't interrupt, doesn't overtalk. She's a Southern belle. She's so in her element now that she is away from all that drama and that family dynamic that wasn't her family. It was a family she had married into. And she was in this marriage for like 15 years. That just her life was not hers. So I want to tell you guys that if any of you have been in a situation where you have a super meddling mother-in-law, a super controlling like sister-in-law or mean sister-in-law, it's always the women that do this, isn't it? You never hear of the father-in-law that controls the dynamic. It's always the woman, right? The men are always just. But if any of you, and maybe there's a father-in-law, if any of you have been in that type of situation before on any scale, and you know what I'm talking about, where maybe you were in a relationship with someone and they had a lot of money and their family was, then you know Stephanie's story. And you know that you were saved by getting out of that. You know this. You know this. Because here's the thing, folks. What do we have? We live in, for most of you watching, I mean, many of you live out of the country, and that's great as well. Welcome. But for most of you watching, you know, we live in the United States. Freedom, right? Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of, of life. And if you have someone or a family, if you're in a family dynamic where someone has an unhealthy attachment to a child, right? That they try to control that dynamic of who the child, of their new relationship or whatever, or even an unhealthy attachment. It can even be a parent and you're in the relationship and they have an unhealthy attachment to like their child, their adult child, anything like that. You guys, Stephanie's story, and it may not be on as big of a scale as Stephanie's, where, for example, your mother-in-law buys the piece of land right next to you and builds her house right there, and it's not really a welcome event. I mean, I would think it would be great, if you get along with your mother-in-law and she builds a house next to you, great, the more the merrier. This was a dynamic where they were very religious, yet like my client had, a little plastic surgery done after giving birth to children. And the mother-in-law had to go get the plastic surgery done first before it was odd. It was odd. Like listening to it, I was just like, I am floored. How did you survive? Because the whole point when they were starting to go their separate ways was trying to make her feel crazy, right? It was like a dynamic of, trying to push her down so she didn't try to get custody and all this. And she actually does have custody. They have shared custody, I believe, but she has her children, like 80% of the time or what have you. And it was just like speaking to a different person than I spoke to in November. It was like speaking to someone that was, and thank you guys for hitting the like button if this resonates, and thank you for subscribing. It'll help get the video shared, so I appreciate it if you do that. It was just like speaking to a completely different woman. She was so in her element now that she had her life back. She had her life back. And it was beautiful. It was really, really beautiful. And you guys, I don't want to make this has nothing to do with me, but I will say that um, when I was younger, I was in a 10-year relationship and they were a great family. They were very well off. They were from Oakwood, which was the nicest part of, Ohio where I grew up. It's where like Rob Lowe grew up and everything. The mother wrote for the Dayton Daily News. The father was a finance guy, um, and my partner had went to Ohio University and was an environmental scientist. I mean, it was a very well-to-do family. They never meddled in our stuff. Never. We spent, time with them all the time. They never meddled. Never. And we had a great relationship. We grew apart after 10 years. I was younger, and that can happen when someone's younger. And that's their first relationship. But I've also been in dynamics where the family was overly meddling, right? And that is a very uncomfortable situation. It's a situation where there's no boundaries and it's just like, wow, like, really? Like, wow, you know? And so some of you were in a situation like Stephanie's, like my client that I just told you about. And if you're just logging on here, definitely go back and listen to this. And you were actually saved. You really were. She sounded so well tonight. And when I spoke to her, I believe it was in November, send me a text, Stephanie, and let me know. She was so over talking, kind of interruptive, not in her right mind. And that's what having your privacy invaded will do to a person, right? So if that's what having your privacy invaded on a grand scale, like Stephanie did by the family she had married into, will do to a person on a mental level. It is very invasive. It's like having surgery for the world to see on camera, right? It's like being cut open for the world to see. It's very, very invasive. And I want to choose my words right when I say this because I know some of you could still be hurting, and if you're still hurting, I'm sorry, but you're not doing the work because we are in such a beautiful time right now. We are in such a beautiful time. We are in a time of manifestation galore. Money abound, 9 to 5 jobs going out the door, using your own creativity to build wealth coming in. People are learning that there is more than one way to do things, right? Some people have two creative businesses that they run. Other people are just coming into learning that everything they went through has opened them up to the gifts that they are supposed to share to the world. If you are not there, you're about to go there. Okay? You're about to go there. But my God, I want you to feel grateful that you were saved from certain situations. I want you to feel so much gratitude in your heart because when I just had this call with her, I could tell I had talked to her before. I talked to a lot of people, so sometimes I don't remember, but I was like, wait a minute, are you the one? Did you end up moving? And she's like, yes, I did move. Blah, 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 blah. And yes, I do have my daughter with me. And yes, my son is with his wife and blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't believe it was the same person. That's how poised and lovely she sounded. And I think the fall from grace, so to speak, that they were trying to put upon her, well, it backfired. It backfired. And I think sometimes we can see ourselves in a light that may not be the best because we can look up to a group of people so much. We can look up to a group of people so much and think that they are so wonderful and so great. And oh my God, this group of people or this church or this family or this uh, belief system or this way of life or this hierarchy or this, I mean, don't even get me started. I'm not going to go into politics with you because that it's just something you don't do in on any platform that isn't political. In my opinion, it can really harm you, and so I don't get into that. But there are so many people and organizations and groups and religions and families that may look like they have it all. And the bigger picture, the bigger meaning is that if you know yourself and you know your own core beliefs and you like yourself and you can spend time with yourself and love yourself and show yourself how to care for yourself and cook for yourself and be kind to yourself, you have it all. And if you have built close-knit relationships to even just a few people, maybe your mom's your best friend, maybe your animals, maybe your children, your child, you have it all. You really, really have it all. You have no idea how much you have it all. You really have it all. I take so much pride in FaceTiming my mom every day. And I'm thinking, what can I give right before I call her? Now, I used to never think this way. Now I'm like, okay, what can I give to her today? What can I actually do, say, teach? I learned from my mom. I've learned from my mom all my life. But what can I show her or help support her today? And that tells me I've grown. And I look forward to when I come home and my little dogs are like, she's back, she's back. Like, I love it. I love my life. And I look forward to lunches with my favorite girl in the world. I look forward to it. I look forward to yoga class. I look forward to my stomach growling like that. I look forward to yoga class. I look forward to building a relationship with a person who cares and loves for me and wants to build something bigger, more of a legacy than something that won't hold any weight or stability. I look forward to life. And if you have any of those, then you have it all. And there is more to come. And if you have been freed from a situation where you felt as though maybe your life was not your own, maybe, oh my God, God forbid if you had, your phone hacked or your devices hacked, like, Stephanie did. And I was sharing with you guys a few weeks ago that I had a similar situation. Be so grateful that you are in a new phase where you can release all of that and let it go. I work with clients all the time, husbands, wives spying on each other. It's sweet, it's kind of cute, it's kind of funny. You gotta laugh. This was not that. This was something where a family did not want a son to be with a woman, and they had completely hacked into all of her things, everything, her phone, her computers, her everything. And she's in North Carolina, very Southern Belle, very. I told her, I said, Stephanie, I'm going to do a video on this. She goes, call it Trials and Tribulations of a Southern Belle. And I was like, I think I'm going to call it Dallas and Falcon Crest because this is what it reminded me of. I was sitting there listening. I also thanked her for the most interesting reading I've ever had, because as the cards were coming out, sometimes as a reader, you will draw something and it'll be a very clear picture, but the picture is not pretty. And so you'll redraw the cards 1 to 2 more times. You really don't want to go over that. At least I don't, to make sure you're right. And the same cards will come. You'll literally draw. You'll put them back in the deck because you'll think, no, it can't be that bad. I'm going to shuffle again. And you'll draw, the same cards will come out. And it's one reason I don't draw cards really on myself. I'm always like, no, because I'll end up drawing like 5 times and get the same answer. But I couldn't believe what all she has gone through and how she has come out. And I'm just going to say on top. And it reminded me of that. What was that song? Started at the bottom. Now I'm whatever that is. Oh, Stephanie, I love you, but your real name is up here. Oh my God. We're on the live chat and I love you so much. I would change your screen name after this video, but it just touched my heart how much she's changed, how poised and at peace she is now that she doesn't have all these people meddling in her shit. You guys have, from someone who has had people meddle in their shit, literally had, you know, it's, I would never even get into it ever again because I've released it. But from coming from someone who has literally had zero privacy, and I'm not talking about social media. Most people, well, at least for me, that have a social media presence have a very small circle of friends, like under 5. They keep their circles, they're quiet, unless they're in a relationship and the circle expands and expands and expands. And that's because we like some privacy. And this showed me how the inner nuances of a person being, I said I wasn't going to cuss in this video, but there's no other word to say but fucked with, and being, toyed with and spied on and things like that, how it can literally change a person from a very calm, like gets things done, like poised person to being completely paranoid, completely unbalanced, this really proved it to me, and it brought comfort actually to me. And I know that's why I was like, I really have to do a video on this, because I know that Stephanie's story, and thank you so much for commenting, Stephanie. I love you so much. Oh, I love you too. I'm sorry. I did think that the first time we talked, I thought, okay, either she is going through a lot of stuff or she's on some. That's what I thought. I thought what, and then when I talked to you tonight, Stephanie, I was like, my God, you know what? And Stephanie, I would ignore any crazy messages you get because, crazy people can just email you now. So I would just ignore that on here. But I couldn't believe how much growth and calmness and stability she has within herself, within her throat chakra. And the same card kept coming out for her. I know it's on top because I just got done with her reading. It's close to the top. And it was take hold of your fears and go after your desires. Take hold of your fears and go after your desires kept coming out for her. And so I feel like as a collective, that's what this video, that's what Stephanie and her reading coming tonight and me just being tired and thinking, I really need to talk about this. As a collective, what has been beat into us, those thoughts and those patterns and those from the hierarchy of whatever dynamic you grew up in or past life or what have you. It could have been a matriarch of your family. It could have been I grew up Christian. I'm fine with the Christian religion. I'm fine with the Catholic religion. I love the Jewish religion and their principles. Jewish men are amazing. They're very, very loyal. They're very good to their women. But when I started this channel, a lot of my Christian friends were very judgmental to me. And I said, there is something in the Bible about not to judge, right? And so I think what Stephanie's reading did for me is it was telling me that it's okay if you change, if what you were taught, right? Because things change. And what we do is we take the positive lessons. My mother taught me wonderful lessons. My grandmother taught me wonderful lessons. My grandma used to sing Bible verses to me while I played with my dollies in front of her. She would sit on one foot in her rocking chair and she would sing Bible songs, and I would sing along and I would play with my dolls, and she would tell me what a good girl I was. And she's my favorite person in my entire existence on this earth in this lifetime. There has been no one that has had a greater impact than my grandmother, and right close to that, my mother. No one. My grandmother was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful person. And I know she guides me in a lot of the things I do. And every time I see a butterfly or every time I see a ladybug, I always know she's around. And everything I know about food and anything that and being a good person I got from my grandma LaGolda. I know this, and I know she's my spirit guide. I know this. That being said, we take the things we are taught that we know are still very useful and powerful today, and we use those moving forward. But we also bring in our own state of consciousness that plays in our life as well. And as we move through and we learn lessons and we make mistakes, some small, some, epically fucking huge, we learn not to do those mistakes again. Let's face it, right? And this is how we form our new construct for our families. We take what we were taught that we know is valuable and we apply it. I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe you had a father who worked 2 jobs and he worked his ass off, right? And he provided a beautiful life for you. I'm just throwing this out there. But maybe, see what your reading did, Stephanie? My God, I'm on fire here. But maybe the marriage ended up failing or something because he worked 2 jobs. He didn't pay attention to the wife or something like that. Well, that, I want to be a good provider, but I don't want to work 2 jobs. So I'm going to be an entrepreneur, right? You take, your father was a good provider. You take that. And then you take, but I don't want to work my ass off. And you take, I don't want to work 2 jobs, so I'm going to do that. So you take what you know and you submerge it in what you've learned, and you build a stable construct. And you have to have good morals and values as a base, or it won't work. And we all learn that somewhere along the way. Some of us later than others, some of us earlier than others. And you can get thrown off track depending on what you've been through. But God, listening to her tonight was so valuable to me. So valuable. Very, very valuable, because many of you were in a dynamic with a family that did not want you to succeed with whoever you were in a partnership with, just like Stephanie. And you may have had a lot of negative energy entities, anything sent your direction because of that. Or like Stephanie's story with her phone getting tapped into, her your for any, all that'll make anyone crazy. I can tell you from experience, having your stuff hacked, and it's hacked because your phone is going so incredibly slow, and it's like $1,000 phone. You don't want to just go get a new one, and you're like, oh my God, what is going on? And you have like IP addresses that aren't yours that are showing up in your Google account. And you're like, okay, something's gone down. So, that will make anyone feel very off balanced, very, cray cray, so to speak. And to speak to her tonight, I was like, aren't you glad you're out of this? Surely you know that this is a blessing that you are away from this family you married into. Who in their right mind would want to be in that type of dynamic? And I have seen this throughout my life. I saw it with one of my very dear friends, Connie, who is now a yoga instructor. She is Kripalu certified. She lives in Ohio. I actually met her because I moved back to Dayton from Columbus after I left a 10-year relationship. After this story, I'll let it go. And I dated her ex-husband. And they had a very big name in town, very big. He was a builder, and they were very wealthy. And as soon as I moved back to town, I was like fresh catch or whatever. He was hitting on me or whatever. And I didn't know her at the time. And I lived across the street from this rec center in Vandalia, right across the street. I had the model home. I lived right across the street. And I go into a yoga class one day, and she's like, oh, you're Andre. I think you know my ex-husband. And I was like, wow, okay, that was kind of forward. And she's a little bit older than me. And she just took me under her wing, and I spent a holiday with her. I love this woman. Like, this woman is wonderful. I did my first hot yoga class with her downtown in Dayton, Ohio. It sucked because I was so toxic at the time with her. And she's still my friend today. I actually have a letter she wrote me hanging in my kitchen on a cork board. She went through this when she divorced out of that family. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget. Like, she actually got really depressed, and I think maybe even went on something for a short amount of time. But then she became a yoga instructor, and she changed her life, and she built a beautiful home in the neighborhood I had lived in, and she probably still lives there today. Now she's remarried. She's so happy. But if you've ever been and just like Stephanie went through, very similar stories. If you've ever been in a relationship with a person with what you deem as a powerful family, and really they're just a bunch of paranoid assholes who want to control everybody's life in the family, then you know that it is a sign of freedom to release that into. It's like you've worn your shoulders like earrings for however many years, and you get to drop that shit. Bravo. Stephanie, fist bump to your sister. I'm actually grateful that I've never been in something quite that severe. That would have been hard. I mean, I've had like someone I've been involved with, their sister was just a real, ugh, and things like that. But I've never been in a dynamic like that. And I am so grateful that I haven't been. but I definitely have been hacked into before, and that is a very uncomfortable feeling. And I just give Stephanie, my client, a lot of props for really pulling herself up and out of a situation that was really bad. Because I got to tell you, folks, when you're in it, and here's what some of you don't know, and I'll end up with this, that real shit 2-year cycle that many of us went through, some of us went through it like 5 years ago. Others of us just went through that karmic cycle and got out. Others are just getting into it and have that 2-year cycle. I promise you that you can pull yourself out, and you will, and that your days will be filled with sunshine and hopefully yoga and green juice and friendships and new loves and happiness and yeah, yeah. So, Stephanie, thank you for the beautiful reading. Dallas and Falcon Crest. I don't know. I think yours sounded a little more Falcon Crest-esque to me. Um, Only because I don't think you were with a J.R. Ewing. I think you were with a, what's the guy in Falcon Crest? He was, yeah. And I think you were the blonde in Falcon Crest, the one that really like was a force to be reckoned with. I really, I'm really proud of you, Stephanie. You really, since November, you really turned it around. And you may not think you're as far along as you want to be, but I think if you mesh your passion with what you're good at, like your knowledge in X, Y, and Z, like we spoke about, with your passion, I think that's going to take off. I really have all the faith in the world for you, in you, and I'm so proud of you. And that was the most interesting reading I ever did. You guys, honestly, I did not want to stop her reading. I'm so embarrassed. I was like, God, my life must be a little boring if I'm so into like, I was so into the reading. I did not want to stop. I was like, okay, I'm just going to pull another card on this. And I'm just going to pull another card on this. And then as she went into stuff, I would ask, and this often happens in a reading, I'm like, are you blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, okay. And you got the yin yang symbol in this card. She's like, I love the yin yang symbol. And then I was like, okay, is there any chance so-and-so can be pregnant? And she was like, well, yeah, we are blah, 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 blah. And and I was like, is it any chance? Yeah, well. And so when a reading goes like that, and you know you're giving a person clarity, but they're past the point to where the clarity doesn't cause them tremendous amounts of pain because they've healed, that is a good feeling. That is a very, very peaceful, serene, loving, light-filled feeling, because you know someone has been in need of clarity, and you knew they were too, I mean, I'm just going to say it, fucked up to handle it. And then they heal and they get the clarity they need. And because they are healed, they're able to handle it with grace and poise and class. That was beautiful. And if only people would put this dynamic together. And with this, I'm going to end it. After I do a little short boastful thing at the end, and the boastful thing is because I'm so excited about something I have coming up. But if only people would realize that by giving clarity from the interim saves people a lot of fucking time, then we would have a much peaceful existence. And I know you're saying, well, Andrea, you just told us, or I don't want to choose your words. Maybe you're thinking, Andrea, you just told us that the reason Stephanie, your client, was able to handle clarity is because she's now healed and she's now able to handle the clarity. What not giving clarity, especially in relationship dynamics, like love relationship dynamics, does is it keeps people stuck in a repetitive mental mind fuck. So when the repetitive mental mind fuck goes on, and now this is if you're asking for the clarity. This is not in a situation where you just feel someone needs to give you clarity and you just keep your mouth shut. This is like in Stephanie's case where she wanted to know what happened, where, a husband of 15 years just ups and bails on her, right? So, and I love that you commented, Stephanie, you're darling. So what that does when it's not given is it actually wastes a person's time and it prolongs the healing process. So for example, Stephanie was married 15 years. So that would be a long ass healing process. And she's probably still going to be healing for a long time, but she's poised, she's together, she's on top of it, she's creating a new life. Everything's great. She has custody of her child. The family was not able to take control and take her child away like they did to the wives before. So that shows her strength as a woman. Go Stephanie, right? Go Stephanie. I'm so glad you did that call in November too, so I could compare these two. But what it does when, like by her husband not stepping forward and just saying, look, this is what happened. This is what happened. Or by many of your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, saying, look, I have someone pregnant. Or look, I left because my family can't stand you. Or look, I left because I'm interested in someone else I don't. Or look, I left because you don't have enough money. Or, they prolong your healing process. And so the way to overcome that is this, very simple. Detachment, your best friend. Detachment, your best friend. One more time. Total detachment, your best friend. When someone doesn't give you clarity, like in Stephanie's case, married to a man for 15 years, he walks out the door, no words said, then they're in court and all this other bullshit. That is a person that is telling you, yes, you had my kids. Yes, I was married to you for 15 years, but you are not worthy of an explanation of why I'm walking out the door. Right? That is your ticket. That is your letter of proof that what you need to do is totally fucking detach. Okay? Totally detach. Because that is a person that is not out for your highest good. Capiche? Capiche. So on that note, right? Stephanie, I am so proud of you. I love you so much. I can't believe I've talked about this for almost an hour, but you are a beautiful light in this world. And well, Summer, if you're going through it, private reading, the detoxintuitive.com, go for the twin flame reading. We'll get you the clarity and you can move forward, because no one can ever keep you stuck but you. No one can ever keep you stuck but you. No one. No one. That's a very poor excuse to stay stuck. If you are stuck, you're stuck because you're keeping yourself stuck. Bottom line. No one keeps you stuck but you. Right? Now, you can be healing, and that'll keep you in stagnancy for a while, and that's actually a positive thing. But healing and stuck are two different things. Okay? The healing process, which will keep you in a state of growth while healing, but you will be stagnant, that is one thing. And then when that's over, you are flying high, you're feeling great. But stuck is you. No one else keeps you stuck. So all of you who are like, and God, I said this for a whole year, and it actually makes me, I want to go back and delete so many videos. I could vomit. Seriously, I could I really could vomit, actually. I could. All of you who are like, well, if only I knew this, this, and this, and this. Okay, you're keeping yourself stuck. So you either pay for a reading by myself or someone else, you get the clarity you need, and you start the healing process to move forward, or you stay stuck in your mind. If you have a mind that is doing the mental repetition, the mental over and over, and you're thinking this scenario and you're thinking this scenario, so much so that it's making you crazy, well, I'm going to tell you, maybe someone likes to see you crazy. Ever think of that? Because a woman or a man who loves you will not want your mind to wander. A woman or a man who loves you will not want your mind to wander. For example, I was trying to make plans with someone, or actually someone was trying to make plans with me rather, and I knew that I just had a really busy week. But I want this person to know, this can be a girlfriend, this can be whoever. I wanted this person to know that I wasn't, you know, toying with them. I wanted them to know. I didn't want them to think, oh God, I'm just blowing you off. I didn't want them to think that at all. So instead of, no one really calls anyone these days, right? A phone call is like, it's so obsolete. If someone calls you, you're like, oh, they're calling me. Like but calls are important. But they have this thing on text where you can actually push the button and record yourself. I wanted this person to hear me say, look, I would love to get together with you too, but I do have a lot going on. So I'm going to do my very, very best. This day looks the best. And then there's a compromise that goes on. Well, okay, that day doesn't work for this person. So I'm going to compromise because I know this person's worth that, or, to me. Or this, you know what I mean? You make compromises for people. You don't compromise yourself, you don't compromise your integrity, but you compromise working together with people. It's like you have to be able to work together with people. If you can't work together with someone, that's not going to work, right? If every time you try to have a conversation with your partner, if they throw a fit, a screaming match, and throw a dish of food across the floor, that's not going to work. You're not mommy picking up the dish for the 500th time, right? You're mommy who shows them where the door is. And hopefully that person gets the help they need and comes back and apologize, or they're out of your life, because guess what? You deserve someone that knows not to throw the dish of food across the floor, that knows you're not their mom and you're not there to pick it up, right? So this is how we are growing. And maybe this video will resonate with many of you, maybe it won't, but I am grateful. I told Stephanie I feel like I should refund her. I felt like I got so much out of that reading. It was like the sheer knowledge. I know I'm carrying on right now and I need to stop. It was like, and I'm so like to listen to this, I was just like, aren't you grateful that you are not in that family anymore? Aren't you grateful that you are not married into that? And she said something that caught me. She said, yeah, I used to look at this family and think they were like, oh my God, like the holy grail of, like, I thought they were everything. And now I'm just like, and I know exactly how she feels. If you've ever, you guys, there's all kinds of, myself included, I'm on social media. I know how that whole dynamic works. There are, you will never, ever, 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 ever hear me boasting. And when I say boasting, I mean bragging about, like, I have this in the bank and I have this in the bank and I have that, because I'm not going to bullshit. I know a lot about like internet marketing and the guys that you see them pull up to their mansion in their, their Ferrari that is rented for the day just to shoot the video, and then they're teaching you how to make money. I know, I've been in those situations. I know how that dynamic works. It's all bullshit. So I try to come and tell you, I'm not perfect. I've made major mistakes in my life. I've gotten in relationship. I only regret one relationship, and it was several years ago. Um, I learn valuable things in relationships, and I really try to apply it and self improve myself and help others self improve. And I do think that's one of the things that I've been gifted, is to be able to take things that I have learned in my life and to turn them into helping others in every capacity. I'm an encyclopedia, walking encyclopedia on health and detoxification and herbalism, and I always have been and I always will be. But one of my favorite readers says, maybe it's not that you are bad at relationships. Maybe it's that, you know, God takes like the people that need the most help and puts them before you, so you can teach them how to level up in a relationship, or how to actually be in a commitment. And I think that's very true. I really, really do. And one of the things that Stephanie kept saying tonight that just caught me is what I said to you. She used to look up to this family so much, and now she's just like so grateful to, be on the other side. And I know that feeling very well. I know the feeling to look up to a group of people, or a structure, or even, a religion like Christianity, because, and I don't want to say anything about that, but I considered myself a born again Christian for a long time, and I still listen to K-Love, was on my radio today, and I love Jesus. I do feel God, died so we would be forgiven for our sins. And I can quote Bible verses and all of that. But I also feel that God lives within all of us. And I also feel like people do make mistakes. And when they learn from their mistakes, they have two choices. They can keep on being a fuckwad, or they can elevate, rise above, change, and do better in this world. And I know I have been there very recently, actually. I've been there, and many others have. And we are living in a different time now. And we're living in a time of so much abundance, and so much is able to be learned, and so many people are going vegan because they see how horrible the treatment is to animals, and for our planet and everything else. And we are living in such a fantastic, epically beautiful time to co-create and create with others. And that call I got today was like, hallelujah. I was like, okay, I've done somewhere, I've done something right, God, that is making this come into fruition. Somewhere in my life, it was a business call. Somewhere in my life, I'm doing something right. Somewhere I switched, I changed something, I let something go, I did something for someone else, I helped someone here, I did something that's making something go right. And one last thing I want to share with you guys, and then I'll be done. And do watch this from the beginning. This is a very powerful video about a call I had with a client today. And I think you guys will definitely get into it. Yeah, thank God she's free, right? That's what I told her. I said, aren't you glad you're out of there? Can you imagine your mother-in-law buying your house for you and buying the piece of land next to your house with you and your new husband, and then building her house on that piece of land? And then your husband planting tall bushes, and so like there could be some privacy, and her like poisoning the bushes so the bushes wouldn't grow, and so she could spy it. I mean, my God, I will take that story to my grave. Like, I'm so glad that I mean, I would be seeking the happy dance, dancing on top of a table, just I would just be so elated to be out of that family, right? Right, Sumo? I am just like, wow, I've not been through anything. That is intense. Like, I don't know, my phone and my electronics being hacked was pretty deep, but that's some deep shit right there, right? But you guys, here's the thing. What was I going to say? There was one more thing I wanted to say to you, and I couldn't remember quite what to say. Okay. Let me talk about something else. No, what was I going to say? I'm so sorry, you guys. I lost my train of thought. Probably because it's late. Also, we are living in a time of so many options in many things, in work, in creativity, in what we can do, in ways to make an income, in love, definitely in love. Um, if you're not married, you basically have like three options. Pretty much everyone does. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't, or something like that, it's because you need to get out of the house or you need to open up your heart again or something like that. This second I opened my heart up again, it was like number one, number two, number three, number four, number five. And, but I want to tell you something. There will always be one thing you're drawn to do for a living. And sometimes, your family or whatever, they'll be like, you can't do that. You can't make, and you have to let that go. My family's very supportive of what they know. I'm a weirdo, and they just like are like, okay, Andi's a weirdo. We'll just go. What is she doing? We'll just go with it 'cause she seems to know her shit and just, but, and there was no getting away from me starting this channel because I'm a Pisces, Scorpio. It's things, downloads come, and I needed a way to process and put them out there because they come so fast and my ears were ringing, and I wanted to be able to help people get out of their mind, get out of their ruminating thoughts. But nothing will open your heart more if you have a closed off heart. And I want to leave you with this. We are living in a very abundant time, a very loving time, a time of change and growth and manifestations coming true and dreams coming true, like real dreams. Like if you can fall asleep in the arms of a person that you are so, I don't even want to say just attracted to, but that you feel such a kindred soul connection with, that's all you need. If you can manifest and create your dream reality in the form of a career and be an entrepreneur or team up with other people and build something, that's wonderful. If you have the ability to turn around your health by going vegan, adopting a no salt diet or something, if you have heart problems and things like that, that is wonderful and it's something to be very proud of. We are living in such a great time of change and growth. And if your heart is closed off, I want to tell you there's ways to open your heart, but I will tell you from experience, from personal experience, nothing will open your heart faster than, and I want all of you to remember this who are like striving for clarity and all that bullshit. Get a reading, we'll get you your clarity, and then start the healing process. But you need to be the one that starts doing the work on yourself. And you'll know that you haven't done the work on yourself if someone keeps coming up continuously in your mind over and over and over again. Maybe it's meant to be, right? Right? If it was a karmic situation, you would have cut it out. It would have been done. Because eventually we can't stand that circular motion. We stop it. But nothing will open your heart more than seeing a person that you truly care about, a friend, a family member, suffer in any way, health-wise specifically. That will open your heart like that. You can do all the healing work, all the colonics, all the coffee enemas, all the dry skin brushing, infrared sauna, nice and flush. You can get you a personal trainer. You can get you a new set of boobies for all I care. You can do anything. You can do biofeedback. You can do, therapy, which I don't recommend because I think they're crazy anyway. You can do neurofeedback, very powerful. You can do the brain paint method, very powerful. I've done that. You can do all this. You can lay on a jade mat before you go to bed. Just got me one of those. You can drink all the Kangen water. You can put the alkaline drops in your water. You can do cord cuttings. They're for sale on my website. You can do anything you want to heal yourself and to open your heart. And nothing will open your heart more than the fear of losing a person who you love, friend, family member specifically, or actually losing someone you love. And I knock on wood when I do that. Nothing will open your heart quicker. Nothing will get your ass on a plane. Nothing will. The fear of a person that you care about so deeply in your heart, your mom, your sister, your brother, your dad, your cousin, your auntie, your anyone, nothing will get you to open your heart quicker than that, or reopen your heart and get you back to who you are and where you're supposed to be. Nothing. Nothing. And maybe a short side to that would be getting out of something like Stephanie was in. Marrying into a family dynamic of complete control and invasion of privacy. You get away from that, or, heaven forbid if it's your own family, that would be horrific. But you get away from that dynamic and you are free. You're free. And you want to open your heart, you just connect with people that need you. Go to an animal shelter and read to the animals. They'll let you take 3 or 4 dogs into a squared off box space and you can read to them. And have you ever read to a dog? Ever? They'll actually sit and listen to you and they'll watch you turn the page. It's like having a little audience to read to. It's very nice. It's very nice. And they don't bite back and they don't like argue with you. And it's a very freeing experience. Go read to some dogs at an animal shelter. I'm serious. Try it. Might surprise yourself. Go take, $50 and buy some dog blankets, right? Or dog beds, and deliver them to the animal shelters. Or rescue an animal. If you're allowed to have an animal and you want unconditional love in your life, try that. Blow your mind. They get all like happy when you come home, but you have to have patience with an animal. They're like a child. You don't beat their ass when they pee on the floor. You have to train them to go outside and to let you know. You have to teach them. You have to train them. You have to be gentle with them. You don't, right? God. Okay, Stephanie, all this from your reading. I'm going to go to bed, you guys. Stephanie, I am not worthy, honey. Thank you. Thank you so much for your reading tonight that you purchased on the detoxintuitive.com. It gave more to me than I hope you got a lot out of it. Wow. Oh, okay, you guys. Now you guys are all going to yawn because yawning is contagious. All right. I love you. Okay, good night. Be well. Bye-bye. We're all proud of Stephanie for getting out of that mess.